Yo, what's up, bro? How you doing, man?
What up, man? We back.
We back. New year. New year, who this?
New
Is that what we're
year.
supposed to say?
What are we supposed to say? Say it
I
again.
don't know. Shit. New year, who this?
New year, who this? I just
Shit.
shared the episode. New dirt, who this?
Oh dang, I forgot to share the episode. Anyway, y'all know how to get to the dang episode by now, right? Or do I need to go? Let me just do my due diligence to go share it.
Yeah, man. Don't forget to share.
No, I mean I forgot because I was reading the article you sent me earlier about the food. Like I read it the other day, and then I needed to go back and reread it. So, boom. What's up, Dad? How you doing? I see you watching.
Yeah, man. So new year, new episode, all us, man. We back, man. 22. How's it feel being in the new year?
Yo, it's interesting, man. Like, it feels good. 2022, like it's hard to wrap my mind around 2022.
Yeah.
But yeah. I'm trying to trying to come up with, like, I've had a couple people ask me, like, what's your word of the year? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, we supposed to have words of the year now?
It just started. Like, I need
people.
I
mean, other people have words. It's like peace.
Well, I got to give it up. My mom last year, she had like a word. She had like a bracelet kind of deal that was like affirmations, right? And like her affirmation was like finished or something like that. And it actually worked. She finished up her degree. She got a lot of stuff done. She got a new job and everything. So, hey, am I supposed to have the word already? Because like I know people who have their word of the year already. Like, do I have to have my word now or what? What's I don't know. I'm definitely not a January word person. For one, I'm just not in the mood for like new words. Like, I gotta fill the year out. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially this year, because I feel like December 31st, December 30th, there was like a lot of deaths rattling off one after another. And
they took out Betty White, bro.
Yeah, 21 took out Betty White and John Madden in the same week.
Okay, so my philosophy on Betty White getting taken out was that meant that we didn't need Betty White. Like we gonna be all right. If Betty White been riding with us since before the CIA was formed, right? So we needed her to get through these past couple years, but because the Lord took out Betty White, but when he did, he letting us know that 2022 gonna be all right. That's a word right there.
It's got to be all right.
Man. It got to be all right. If Betty White, if we ain't got Betty to cheer us up, come on, man.
It's just getting crazy out here, man.
Come on.
It's just getting crazy. That's all I can say. But yeah, definitely with all the deaths that were rattling off. And then I heard the Mac died like right after New Year's. I was like, man, the Mac, the actor that played the Mac.
Oh, I'm thinking your computer died.
No. Nah, the actor that played the Mac passed away. And it's like, yeah, I'm just not there. I'm just not there yet. Don't ask me for a word. Don't ask me. Like, I saw that a lot of people did vision boards and all that.
I ain't never done a vision board.
You've never done a vision board?
Never done a vision. Like, I don't know how to do these things.
I mean, the thing about vision boards is it's a lot of preparing for the vision boards. Like, I gotta cut stuff out.
What about me says I know what a vision board is?
I mean, a lot of people know what a vision board is.
Bro, I done seen them. I don't know how you get to the end result. Like, are we just cutting things out to make us feel good in the magazines or what? I don't even have that many magazines. I don't have no magazines either.
It does give me a little bit of the feeling like I'm the psycho person in the movie that's about to write. Not from a
dang, I'm sorry. Almost died live on air.
Looking at vision boards, the process of like cutting through magazines kind of gives me the feeling like you may just be preparing to write a kidnapping letter or something, like with all the like weird letters and like pictures. I don't know, but I'm not that good at it.
Do y'all vision board? All of our loyal listeners, we got 5 folks watching with us right now. Hey. Do y'all vision board? Let us know. Like, because maybe I should, like I've been kind of trying to figure this year out already. Right. Candace was like, yo, what are your goals? I'm like, I ain't got none yet. And she's like, I have 8. I'm like, bro, how you
Oh,
have 8 already?
hey, because she focused, man.
She like,
Maybe
bro,
that's
she
just
got
the problem.
8.
Like, I'm just not as focused right now.
Bro. Like, when did she come up with the 8? Like, is it
How?
was there prep work?
Right.
Did you focus in like the last 2 weeks of the year?
That
You
sounds like a
know,
goal to itself. Not in a traditional sense, but I have a list. That is amazing.
it's amazing.
Wait,
Like, I'm
you
trying
gotta
to,
put,
and then she in the house with me, right? And so she didn't say, "Hey, I got a list." Right? She didn't say, "Hey, boom, boom."
she
I
gets to
probably, as a husband, I probably should have did that. Let's sit down and let's make a list of our goals. That's probably my job. Is that my
I
job?
mean, I just said I did well, I think and we might get into this later, but I think in our relationship and me and my wife's relationship, I'm definitely the long-term visionary.
I got you.
Visionary. Maybe visionary is too strong of a word.
No, be a visionary, bro.
No, but I mean, like Danielle, I think we balance each other out. She is really good with how do we get through this short term
I
kind
got
of
you.
view of things. And that's just not my strength. I'm not a today person. I'm not like a this
Mm,
person. I'm like a 5 years from now, where do we need to be at?
I feel you. I feel you.
So I think I definitely said to Danielle, now that we're at a place where we've secured one retirement bag, now what do we kind of make out of that, right?
Right.
I'm like, so where do we want to be in 20 years from now? Right? 20 years retirement stuff kind of coming up. What
So
are
you
we
go
doing?
big picture. You go big. You go 20 years.
I go like huge,
I
big,
got you.
because I'm the person that's like small drops fill cups, right?
I feel
So
you.
what can you do to build up so that 20 years you're there, right?
I don't even know. Like, so Candace is um in amazing in this way. Like, if you give her a problem or give her problem is probably not the right word, but if you give her something, then her immediate response is, what are the steps that I need to take to
Right.
accomplish this? Right. Like,
That's good.
that's who she
That's
is, right?
great. Oh yeah.
You know, whereas I am like, I just know what I need, right? And so for me, it's like
Right.
it's big. It's not necessarily. They're just big overarching things like financial freedom or
I
out
got you.
of debt or um you know or I want a second home
Right.
or now this one is probably a little bit more short term, like we want to sell our home and we want a new one, right? So that's probably or then there's probably a couple other short term joints that I probably won't get into over here. But
Right.
like Candace is a like, all right, this is what you want, right? So
Right.
all right, then this is how we're gonna make this happen. And I'm like, Shawty, I have no desire to
Right.
be involved in the little detail. Like, bro, like,
Well,
hey,
she said she focuses on the how and you focus on the who.
okay. She also uses better words than I do. I told her she should
I
come
mean,
on the show and
but
talk about this stuff.
it is definitely I mean, you got to find your balance point, right? Like I think if we agreed on a house being in a place like a state of mind 20 years down the road, I'm the person that's like, this is what we got to do now. This is how this plays out 3 years from now. This is how it makes in 7, 8, 10. Okay, now the move at 12. There's a plan in place that's like, no, this was by design, right? Like,
Yo, and the
I'm
fact
that
that you
person.
create that much detail is amazing. I am probably a hell of a lot more loose with it. It's like, yo, I want to be out of debt, right? And so I think so some of
Right,
my issue also has to be some of my issue also plays into I get bogged down with realism or what's realistic, right? And so is it realistic for me to say these are just random numbers, not anything real? But
right,
is it realistic for me to say, or let's just take the house, right? So is it realistic for me to say I want to pay off this house in 2 years, right? Like, that's not realistic at all. Um, Whereas
see the
some people may,
difference is see the difference. I would be like, maybe not 2, but I
right?
probably could do it in 10.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then you would be like, well, how are you going to do that? I'm gonna have a plan probably by next week on how to pay off that house in 10 years.
And so for me, I would say, babe, Candace, I want to pay off the house in 10 years, right? I don't even think I would give her the 10-year mark, right? Because I think that's too that might not even be one. I don't think I've ever sat down and thought about paying off a house. Let's just take personal debt, right? Okay, hey, babe,
Right.
Case in point, random figure. Hey, we have $15,000 in revolving debt. I want to have that paid off in 2 years, right? It's weighing me down. I'm over it. Like I would love to say, hey, like there's a side of me that wants to say, I want to pay that off in a year.
Right.
The manifesting people are like, yeah, you can manifest that. I'm like, the realist side of Jeff is like, no, you're going to need a couple years to do that. And so for me, I would just say, hey, babe, I want to pay off all of our revolving debt. And then knowing my wife, she would either come back with a thought or say, all right, hey, this is what I think. We can do it in X amount of years, right? I would just give her the thought of, hey, I want to pay off all of our revolving debt.
I mean, I think you need two. I think you need both. You need an architect, someone to dream up the vision, but you also need an engineer that can make it actually happen, right? And then the two of you together partner together to kind of build these things. So I think totally makes sense to me. So.
It's funny. Like there's probably a couple. I should probably be a little bit more visionary than I am about plotting this future, but there's some bigger ones that I want, right? Like the minor one obviously is getting out of this house and getting into the next spot. But the big ones are I want another home.
Right.
I want not another home as in I want another place to live. I want a vacation home, and I'd like that before I'm 40. And I think we are working on a good plan to get that.
Right. Right.
It's still kind of loose, but it's coming. It's plotting along. But yeah, no, my wife is definitely an engineer.
I think it's hard for me if I can't identify the horizon goal, right? Like if I'm that person that's like case in point. And people have heard this story before, so I don't mind giving you the condensed version. But at 25, I was like, I hate work. I hate what I'm doing. I just hate the whole way my life flow was going. Right. So I think it was right around my birthday, actually, when I turned 25, and I was like, this can't happen. This has got to change. I came up with a 5-year plan. And I worked meticulously on what to do to make that happen, right? And then as I started to do it, it became, oh, this isn't a 5-year plan. I'm all in. I could get this done in 2.5 years, right? And now what else can I knock out? And then probably about 6 years away from that, I graduated. I went from working as an electrician to graduating with my MBA. And going back to school and now having a career and all those things. So I don't
think you've ever shared that. Like you and I have talked about that story, but I don't think you've ever shared. And so maybe this moment in the moment, I think, but I do think like you and I have talked about that story on a couple of vacations. Yeah. And so maybe that's a story I feel like we should bring up because I don't think, I don't think we have, I don't think you've ever shared that story with a larger group. And I do think that there's probably some good convo that we could have off that. What's up, Cousin Beverly? I love the fact that our family man is jumping into the show and watching us. So yeah, no, I mean, I love that about you, because again, you shared that story with me and how you kind of plot this thing along and you attack it. Like, man, I tell you, for me, I am like I'll set out the big goals, but I'm also very like attack each day as it is one in and of itself, right? Like it's
right.
And so maybe I'm describing that horribly, but my wife is, when you're talking about planning and you're talking about goal setting, and how I guess engineer, like you said, or building it. Yeah, she's amazing.
She's got 8 goals. She's got 8 goals.
She has 8 goals, right? And I'm sitting over here in my notes with like 4.
It's like day 3 of the new year, and she's got
Bruh.
8. That's more than 2 a day so far. That's amazing
I think
progress.
she's done. No, I think she's done with the goals. I mean, I think she's done with. Now, we haven't sat down and talked about like the level of detail
Right.
that's in them. If they're smart, if they
But where
have,
we're going. Right.
yeah. Like, but I think right now I have 4. You know,
I personally, I don't like SMART goals. I really, it's something about SMART goals that I've just never really been down with, honestly.
What? All
Right.
right. So, what is it about? This is getting us off. This is well, we don't really have a topic for it. Well, we have topics we'll discuss, but
I like specific, measurable, right? I think realistic, and I can't remember what T is. I can't remember what T. My main problem is timely. I don't like the A. I hate the A. Attainable.
Attainable.
I hate that A. Right.
All right. So, do you hate it because
I hate
is it
the A
attainable for
because
your vision?
I hate the
Do you
A
think it
because
limits your
I feel
vision?
like it limits you in your capacity to reach things. Right.
Okay.
It's like saying, someone says, I want to lose weight, and they want you to be specific, right? And say 30 pounds. Then they say measurable. Well, I can measure that, right? Attainable. Maybe it's not attainable given my timeline. So maybe I need to fall back to 20. And you're like, no, shoot for 30. What are you doing? And it's like that attainable takes some of the air out of that goal sometimes. That's like,
do you feel like the attainable piece makes it so that when you hit it, you have something to be proud of, right? So,
I get what it's
yeah.
doing there. You know,
Like,
I just think that it's something where it cuts you, like as you're saying, like I'm trying to cultivate the vision, right? It forces you to start letting some of the air out of the vision. And it's like, but how can I aim for greatness if you keep telling me like it's got to be attainable? Is that attainable? Attainable has turned into this thing that's like gives people the room to rip apart your dreams a little bit.
Or does it give you the space to lowball your ability?
Yeah. To lowball your potentiality to kind of do these things, right?
Okay. So the other side, right? And I agree with that, but I also struggle with the thought. All right. So if we're going to talk about weight loss, if we're talking about weight loss, or we're talking about any goal that has a very set and defined outcome, right? So I want to save $30,000, or I want to have 6 months of income in a savings, yada yada yada, right?
Right.
Does the goal I think the goal is there to add some realism, because I think the R is realistic, right? And so if I wanted to say, all right, I have a goal of losing 30 pounds in a month,
right?
Like that's not an attainable goal. Like,
right.
I mean, I guess it probably is. It's just not it can't be done healthily. Healthily is not a word.
Well, I mean, I get what you're saying. And I use made up words all the time. So I'm rhyming with you, right? But I think what ends up happening is I don't have a problem missing a goal, right? Because if a missed goal happens, I turn it into a new goal, right? And if I aim for 30, if I aim for 20, and then I'm like, yeah, I got to 20, that's good, right? New goal. Now let me set for another 20. I'd rather aim for 30 and fall at 22 and be like, I picked up 2 more, right? What did we learn about this process, and then keep this moving, right?
So then a goal for you is not really a target, it's a suggestion.
No, it's a target. Like I'm hyper focused on that target. It's just that I'm not devastated by not being a goal. I'm like, oh, that was a good goal. I got to do it again, right?
So, one of the things I think one of the reasons why it's hard for me to separate the attainable part from the going lofty is because for so long in my career, the attainable goal was always tied to my raise. And so I was very methodical in my thinking about, all right, from a fundraising perspective, if last year or for the past 3 years, if my fundraising dollars or any of my metrics grew at a rate of 2 or 3% a year, it's not an attainable goal for me to then set it at, I want to grow this year by 5%, right? I could have a stretch goal that says I want to grow by 5, but having that goal that's tied to potentially a salary increase, I've always tried to make those realistic and attainable. And
Right.
so I think the other side of that coin though is bleeding over in and are you selling yourself short, right? If you worked a little bit harder or pushed a little bit harder, could you get to 4? But
See,
because you set your goal at 2, you
right.
shot for 2 and you missed the opportunity to get 4.
Yeah, and I think there's something to that, right? Like I'm the person that says the goals that I'm making, I'm claiming and pulling energy into, right? Like the energy of God, the energy of manifestation, that thing, right? I don't care how lofty of a goal it is, right? Because part of it is going to be my effort. Another part of that is going to be my faith in that God and the energy is going to be there as long as I'm faithful to that mission of accomplishing it, right? And if I don't get to 30, it wasn't meant for me to get to 30. If I landed at 22, I'm gonna get to 22. That doesn't mean the mission's over. It means it's time to re-up again, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I've seen what happens when, at least for me, if I sell myself and I keep telling myself there's a roof here, right?
I got you.
If the roof, if I keep on reminding myself the roof is there, then I'm never gonna try and shoot past the roof, right? I'm always gonna edge. I'm looking to gain a floor when I should be building, jumping buildings, right? I should be
Right.
leaping forward, right?
So I think what you're describing though is and I think what we're describing is I think two sides of a similar coin, maybe not the same
Mhm.
coin, because I think that there are those of us who say, um, I need to set this goal. I want it to be realistic and attainable because when I get there, I want to have that feel good feeling of I
Mhm.
set this goal and I made it, right?
Right,
Whether it's 20 pounds or $200. I set
right,
this goal and I made it. Like that was the goal to make the goal, right? Whereas then you have a person like you that's saying, I want to set these lofty expectations, so that I can shoot to get there. But if I fall short, I'm okay because I'm still further along than I was.
right.
Did I
And this,
describe that
and
properly?
and I think so. A couple of things I would add on to that before we kind of transition in to other topics is, to me, these aren't lofty goals. These are like they're just big.
Just
They're,
goals.
they're just big goals, right?
Mm-hmm.
The other side of it is I don't mind missing the goal because it's one of many goals. Like I think some people lose 20 and then they say, okay, I just accomplished my SMART goal. I need to take a break and re-up and rethink about it. I'm the person that's like, no, because again, I'm long term, right? So I'm like 20 years from now. What do I want? And like think about this, right? I'm the person that was like, yeah, I have student debt and I don't want to work forever. I like making change. How can I go about doing this? I got to work in higher ed, right? Where I can make a change. And I love higher ed, right? I love the
Mm-hmm.
energy of higher ed. At the same time, I have to do everything possible to get as much value out of this as possible, right? So the long-term view is that when I turn 58, if I stay in higher ed, my student loans would be paid off,
Right.
right? And I would be able to retire with my full salary, right? And it's like, well, how did that work out? How did that happen? It happened because I planned it that way, right?
Yeah,
Now,
yeah, yeah.
along that pathway, when people say, "Oh, well, hey man, you're broke," it's part of the mission, man. It kind of sucks, right? Is that right now it doesn't make a lot of sense, but 15 years from now, it might make a great sense. But
Or
there's a lot
it
of risk.
doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't make sense. I think it makes sense to you as the
Right.
architect of the vision. But I think at the end of the day, the
Right.
goals don't necessarily have to make sense to others. And maybe they don't make sense to others as long as they
Right.
make sense to the folks who are impacted by it, by
Right.
meaning you and Danielle and Coop. Then I think then that's in basketball hoop, right? I think that's what I'm gonna have to stop calling this baby girl basketball hoop. For those who don't know, Carrie's having another baby. Cooper, his oldest son and his only child right now, has coined and named the child basketball hoop. And so now, for some reason, well, it's just because y'all know this is who I am
Well,
as a person.
But
we're all calling
Cooper,
the baby basketball hoop.
well, we've now realized that Cooper only calls the baby basketball hoop because he gets a laugh out of us. So he's like, that's her name. Ha ha ha. Right. And you're like,
Mm-hmm.
kid has a great sense of humor, but that's
Right,
what
right, right.
that's mostly about. But I mean, it's still like that. There's a certain level of risk about that. Now, if someone that came to me at graduation from undergrad and said, but is it specific, measurable, attainable, and realistic and timely? I'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Right? Like, I have a plan to kind of make this happen. It's a long-term plan. They were like, but it's not. I don't know if that's attainable.
But okay, so this is another random thought, right? There's a side of me that is also willing to consider the idea of a SMART goal is somewhat of a relic of the past, right?
Mhm.
It's this
Yeah.
idea. It's this way of thinking. I think, and I this is not a fully baked idea, right? This is
No, no, no.
literally
I'm
me
right with
thinking
you.
about this on the fly.
Right. I'm right with you.
Because as I think about the idea of making SMART goals, for the most part, they've all been they started out as these ways to measure us at work, right?
Right.
Well, the people who make the rules at work are relics
Of
of
a
an older
different era.
generation, of
Of
a
a different
different
era.
era, right?
Right.
Of a different way, not only of thinking, but a different way of working. You know, the idea of staying in one place
Right.
for 30 years and then
Right.
retiring, right? It's I think it's baked into that model.
Right. I would
And
agree.
it may not, again, this is me baking this babe, or as Candace will say, building the plane and flying it at the same time.
Hey.
Um, it may not be a thing that has the capacity to push people into the future,
Right.
because it is a very
I think it's so.
limiting idea.
So I would clarify on top of that, right? That I think SMART goals are useful for some, very useful for some, and some type of goals, right? They're not very useful for certain types of personality.
There you
Certain
go.
types of personalities are like, I'm only doing it because I have to do it for you, right? But I don't actually believe any of these things, right?
Right.
And I think there's certain types of goals that are like, because then it's like, I think there's just some type of goals that don't make sense to be in a SMART goal framework, right? And it's like, some people just don't need those. They it's not that they don't need them, it's that they find the SMART goal limiting, right? And
Right.
its opportunity curve. There's some people that would say, oh yeah, you want to quit smoking, cut it, make moves along the curve of opportunity, right? If you're trying to quit smoking and you're having trouble with this and you want to quit, target amount of cigarettes per day, and then kind of measure that over time, and then adjust and keep on going down until you've quit smoking. That makes sense. Um, so that definitely, I don't want people to make it seem like, or think that I hate all SMART goals. I just don't. I think what you were saying, there's a space for you've moved past some SMART goals in a sense of what you're trying to do. You know.
Yeah, I think, and so I think Tasha hit it right here. I think, and I'll try to share this. Um, some people need quick wins, and
Right.
it takes too long for those. Yeah, so there's one big lofty goal, and I don't think I've even put the goal into its proper framework yet
Right.
to be class. So the big goal, it's not even a goal. It is a goal, but it's not, right? So what I have learned about myself recently is that I am not capable of working until I'm 65. Right. Like
You got to be done. You got to
the
be
amount
done.
of effort that I put into work
Right.
is not realistic for me to say I'm going to keep up with that lifestyle until I'm 65. And then then the expectation is, and then you retire
Right.
and then you enjoy life. Right. So for the
Mhm.
back half, the twilight of your career or the twilight of your life, you start to then quote unquote enjoy your life and doing the things you want to do. And I'm
Right.
not willing to do that. I'm not willing to wait that long.
Right.
And so there's a part of me that says, one of my donors and board members retired from West Rock at 50. And now she's building a house in Alaska. You know, she has a house in Virginia Highlands. She's fairly well off. She's doing all right. I don't quite know if retiring at 50 is the number, but the idea of deferred enjoyment is not going to be something that I can live with, right? And so I think, you know, I think this is starting now with Candace and I having these conversations around the vacations that we want to take this year and allowing our kids to experience a little bit more than we got to experience. But like, I'm over the idea of this deferred enjoyment of life, right? And if that means the realities of work are going to get in the way of that, then that means I have to shift what work is for me. And then if finances are going to be an issue, again, one of these other issues, right? If work is getting in the way and finances are going to get in the way, then that means I also have to change how, you know, the finances of my family work. If I'm going to say, I want to enjoy every waking moment of my life, you know, and I do not want to spend, you know, cold winters here. Right. I mean, so anyway,
I mean, everything comes with a cost, right?
Yep.
There are no free lunches. And I think as you design out the future for yourself, you have to be conscientious about what's it going to take to make it happen. Right. And some things ain't going to make it. You know what I mean? Like unless something amazing happens, right? And you're like, oh, I won the lottery. What?
Yep. Or that may mean I have to go harder, right? If the goal eventually is to maximize the income stream, right? Or it's either sacrifice in some areas and go harder in other areas so that I can maximize the profit potential. Or it could be making these little moves here and there that allow you to change the economics of your family, right? You know, sell a house, or you know, and then pocket the income to buy a property, or and then flip it into an Airbnb or whatever that looks like. But like, I think that's probably, Candace may tell you, that's probably the one goal that I've been hard fast on the most, is that idea that I'm over deferring enjoyment, but I'm also over this other idea that I'm only allowed to take vacations in these windows, right? Like, it's, we got this window, this window, this window, and this window. These are when we're going to take our vacation. But then you see other people. I think I spend way too much time watching like living life on the Mediterranean Sea and Caribbean life. I spend way too much time watching these shows. But what that has created in me after watching all these damn shows is, why not us, right? And all of these shows we see, it's always,
there's nothing wrong with that,
no,
right?
Yeah, I mean, it's always white people that are, I mean, and nothing against the white people that are doing it, right? Love them to death. Like, but for me, what that has turned into is, why not us?
Right. What am I? And I think this kind of goes back to that, like the thing, like I was saying to Danielle, is 20 years from now, I want to be doing the same thing.
Hell no, I can't.
20 years from now, I don't want to be sitting on that sideline, right? Thinking to myself, what's the next thing that I want to do, right?
Bruh.
I want to like this is why I have problems with SMART goals, right? Because my bigger goal is going to be, I want to control my own time. That's what I want to do. I want to master my time.
Yep.
I want to master my energy and time. I don't want one person to tell me I have to go do something I don't want to do when I don't want to do it, right? And that's what it's like, I'm gonna figure out a way to get there, right?
Yeah,
right,
bro.
And then once I figure it out, then I'll probably throw some SMART goals on there to kind of make it get the short-term wins and try and move some momentum. But that's what I want. I don't want. I hate to know me is to know. I absolutely hate forcing me to rush, be late, run for things, go do things that I don't want to do. It's like it's akin to slavery of my life, and it's my life.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Don't
I
make me
can't
do things I don't want to do.
And
Right.
in the reality, I hear you when you talk about that 20-year mark. What I know about myself is I can't, like, my mental health
Hmm.
won't sustain me being where I am now
I
20
got
years
you.
from now.
Right.
Like
No,
like
no, no.
you will see a, like, if you talk to me in 5 years and I'm still, you know,
Right.
right where I am right now, not necessarily with this background, but if I look at my life and nothing has changed in 5 years, I will not be a mentally healthy person, right? Because
But see,
I
that's
can't.
what I'm saying. Like, I'm small brained enough, right? It's not that I'm stupid. I'm just small brained, right? I actually would be, there's something, I'm that person that if I have a plan in my back pocket, I don't mind going to a meeting because I know this is, I'm I'm on a timetable. I'm out this mug, right? And it's not that 20 years I want to hit go and be ready to go. It's at 20 years, by 20 years, I want to fully detach away from this. I refuse to do this 20 years from now. What do I need to do now so that I can start building that up to get away? But it's like, I can't. I sit in meetings. I was just in a meeting earlier today where I was like this. Yeah, I
This
don't
ain't it.
I don't know. And it's not that it's not a great mission, it's not great work. It's just that my lifestyle has changed. My views have changed. My
Bro.
perspective has changed.
Yep.
My requirements of living have changed.
I think if
And
you'd, yeah, I think you're
these
right, man.
things
Keep
don't
going. I'm sorry.
evolve with that. These things just have not evolved parallel
Mhm.
to each other, right?
Yep.
So there comes a time where you got to make a call, but you have responsibility. So
Mhm.
how will we break out of this circle,
I
right?
wonder, and I think, and it's interesting because so 2 points here. If you would have talked to me 15 years ago when I was starting my career, you
Right,
would have never gotten me to talk about, because I couldn't think about it. And not only
right,
could I not think about it, my identity is probably was and probably still is to this day tied to what I do.
yeah.
Um,
That's hard. That's
it's
hard.
hard, and so the other side of that coin is like I can't. This is probably the only thing that I'm actively driving towards it very, very hard, is this idea of, I think you hit it, what you talking about, owning your time.
Right.
Is owning my time, right? My one of my best friends, Craig, he was in my wedding. He said the only thing that we own in our life is our time. It's the
Mhm.
only thing that we can't get back as well,
Right.
right?
And
And
I hate it. I hate it. I
yeah,
hate it.
and I
I
hate
hate it.
wasting my time. Hate wasting
I
my time.
I cannot look back at, and I'm sorry, I'm hitting the desk,
No, no,
but
go ahead, go ahead.
I'm passionate about this because I I haven't been into some deep mountain discussion with like the ether of life, right? What I come into the knowledge of through people dying and losing loved ones in my life is that I don't want to look back and understand that that time was committed to things that didn't matter in the way that I thought they should have, right? Or you'll never get that time back, right? The time to connect with other people, the time to be something different, the time to pursue something, the time to expand your mind and do other things. Like, I'm too caught up in fulfilling someone else's smart goals, right?
Ding
I'm a
ding.
I'm a part of their plan for what they
Yep.
have going on and not prioritizing myself
Yeah.
to figure out who I want to be in my own
Yeah.
existence. And I will be damned if I go and look back over my life and it's like you dedicated decades of time to helping someone else's plan, saying that their plan was a higher priority than your plan, right?
And
That's
now, is
crazy
that
as
because you didn't have a plan? So let me push back. Not, and this is not a pushback, right? I
no,
think,
no,
this is maybe a clarifying point. Is that constant push to be somebody else's smart goal or help somebody else's smart goal because you didn't have a goal yourself?
no,
Not,
no.
and I'm not
I
saying
mean,
that. I'm not saying that that's
no,
you.
no,
I'm
no,
saying, when
no. I
people
mean,
get
but like,
stuck in that environment,
no,
are they
but like,
stuck there because they don't have a bigger thought?
think about it like this, right? We married, right? I've chosen to dedicate myself to someone else's goals in life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether they're mine or not. I want Danielle to reach every goal that she ever has in life, right? But I chose it, right? I chose this job or I chose this career path, but I can also choose not to. I can walk away from these things and say, you know what? I was down for the mission because these goals aligned with me, but I changed. It is like the definition of it's not you, it's me, right?
Yeah.
It's not that the I have a problem with the way things work here or whatever. I get it. It's hard. It's an organization. Things change. I would think most people love to get into the space of where you got to be gripey about a job before you leave. No, you just have to come to the sense of, we're just not as aligned anymore. You
So
know what
I
I
will
mean?
I will say that, and Candace will tell you this too. She'll probably type amen in a minute. But that is slash was me, right? Like I'm not ready to leave yet because I still not necessarily don't enjoy what I do, but I'm not angry at what I do yet. So I'm gonna stick it out. But by the time
Mhm.
you're angry at it, you're like, you've been there too long.
Right.
I'll tell you what changed my thinking about all of this was me taking time off.
Mm.
So when I first started in my career, the work life balance was trash, and I think anybody that knows me today probably knows my work life balance is probably still somewhat trash, um, but it's better. And I think
Right.
what happened was is I started to take vacations more, and when I took them, it gave my mind time to wander and it gave my mind time to relax. And so, when we vacationed a lot together. So I've always had this dream, not say always, but I'll say when I first started my career, seeing other people with vacation homes really
Right.
awakened the idea of me wanting to say by 40, I want to have my own vacation home. And then I
Right.
let the dream die. I let the goal die
Mm. Okay.
probably 3 or 4 years ago.
Right.
Um, and then we started a vacation together about 2 or 3 years
Right.
ago.
Right.
And then, Justin and Akuba came along and they started vacationing with us as well. And that kind of started to really change my perspective on,
Right.
and so it kind of rekindled the goal of wanting my vacation home for a couple of reasons, right? It was a tool that I could use to gain more assets, but it was also a space that I could always have, and that's my own,
Right.
that I could always be at a special
Right.
place where I could rest and recharge. And
Right.
so I think it goes back to the idea, we've had this conversation a couple of times, of just surrounding yourself with great people
Right.
that are, and not to say that I haven't surrounded myself with great people, but I think about Tasha, who always watches the show. Another point that I was going to make earlier was I think what's driving me now is Tasha's husband Marlon said it. We were at their house the other day, but we got to stop talking about stuff and start doing stuff.
Yeah. It's
And
time to
like
make action.
we
Right.
we spend way too much. And I think the idea of talking about things has started to really frustrate me.
Right.
And so everywhere in my life where I started to see people just talk about things, but not add the other point of, all right, we're talking about this issue. What are we going to do to move it
What's
forward?
that
And Candace
action?
checks me on this a lot as well. And sometimes I just don't have an answer because I'm living it and I'm frustrated. But it's what's the, like you just said it, what's the action moment that progresses us out of that space, and so for me, from the money perspective, it's really driven, like that's driving the only way that I can get out of the rat race and really own my time is to own my sources of income, to
Right.
own my money. And so now it's legitimately like, how do I begin to own different streams of income or own my own
Right.
income,
Right.
understanding that for now I still have to still have to pull in income from
Yeah.
somebody else, but I want to maximize that as well.
Yeah.
And
I gotta make
so
moves. I gotta make
yeah.
moves. And like so to back you up even more on that, I think my job isn't ready for the person that they're about to get and when we start back, which is like oh no, like I checked off a part of my list. You didn't even know I had a list. but that list is now changed, right? That opens up a lot more different opportunities, right? Because the mission has changed, right? But it's time to start doing, right? I've never wanted to be sleep at the wheel. So what are we doing here, right?
Let me ask, can I ask you a quick follow-up question to that point?
Yeah.
Do you feel like, because so the other day, about last month, we were for those who don't know, I'm in the Association of Fundraising Professionals, and I was leading what's that thing called where you I was it was a roundtable discuss virtual roundtable discussion. I
Okay.
was the moderator. I was the moderator for this conversation.
Gotcha.
And the conversation was called The Audacity of Anyway, the whole premise of the idea was being the audacity of authenticity. And it
Oh
was
yeah.
being your authentic self at the office, about being your
Mhm.
authentic self in your workspace.
Oh yeah.
Do you feel like this change in you is driven by that you want to be more authentic and more closely aligned with who you are as a person every day outside of work with who you are at work as well?
So I would say to address that, right? At my job, I'm one of the most authentically clear people that you
Gotcha.
will ever meet at Georgia State, right? Why? Because I don't have time to dress it up, and I feel like to dress it up wouldn't be true to me. I'm a person that makes up words. And I will tell people at the highest professional levels, I made up that word because it's the best way that I could use to describe this to you.
Right.
But I understand that's not what you guys are all about, right? Or people have said, man, you tell it straight. You're like a straight shooter, right? And that's just me, right? The thing is that at my job is people get so caught up in their view of things, which they don't. It's not like I look at people, I'm like, why aren't you thinking about everybody, right? I get it. People kind of look at their own things. When people look at what I'm doing at my job, they've assumed too much, right? They assumed that the reason why I did the things I did is because they understood the mission at hand. If they would have asked me, I would have told them, because there's been people that have asked me and I was like, no, 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 no. The thing about working here is I need to secure this bag for my wife and kids, right? So that now that that is secure, I can kind of do other riskier things. I just didn't want to mess it up. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? And
Like,
I mean,
hey, I need a secure bag so I can take risks in other areas.
well, I mean, I needed a secure bag because my wife deserves that, for the amount of time and investment that she's put into me, to helping me figure out where my own goals and energy and space is at life. What would I look like if I just said, yeah, I'm a few years from securing this bag for the rest of our life, but I walked away from it, right?
I feel that.
That's totally disrespectful to our relationship and her investment in this as well, and my kids' investment in our financial future. Now that that's secure, it's not that I'm going to be more liberal with them or more upfront with them about where I'm at with things. It's just much more of like there's a cap to what I'm willing to and not to do here. And I'm just going to more consistently drive that line. That's like,
I feel that.
you don't get that time because you didn't pay for that, right?
Yeah. Now
I have to go do other things. You know what I mean?
I'll say one of my working goals, and and this is the point. This is 2 points, right? One of my working goals right now is this not even this idea, but everybody knows, again, my work-life balance has been trash. And so, like, I would many times get off the podcast and then go work until midnight. And it was not uncommon for me to do that 4 or 5 nights a week. I can't do that anymore. Like it's just it's
I'm not
not
gonna do it.
it's not healthy, right?
I'm not gonna do it. No,
I'll also say this idea of being authentic, right?
right.
The struggle that I've always, and this is a lot of people in the fundraising profession, because it's, and I won't say a lot of people, I'll say it's more closely aligned with being Black and a fundraiser, because most of our donors, I'd probably say 98% of our donors don't look like us. They're old white men and women.
Mhm.
And so how much of yourself can we be when most of your when your success is
I just
tied to so
I
what
just
you
said this to a mentee. I just had this
no,
conversation.
go ahead because I was going to say real quick where people are growing now is
Right,
you're going to get what you get and you're going to get me for who I am.
right,
And if you don't like it, let's have a deeper conversation. But if you don't like it, organizations also have to be comfortable with the idea that we might lose a donor because if I'm not being my authentic, if everybody
right,
in an organization isn't being authentic, then we're not being authentic to our mission either.
right.
And
Yeah,
so we have to be comfortable with the idea of losing a donor because we want to be more authentic as an organization and I want to be more authentic as an individual. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
right. I mean, so a couple of things to talk to what you just said. I mean, there's it's the thing of like, oh, we all have healthy work balances. That's what made you like us somewhat, right? But then we're all working late at night to make this happen, ruins that. And it's like, if the only reason you want to be attached to us is because of the things that we say but we're not really about, then we're not authentic as an organization. We're not being about that, right? The other thing that I was going to say is, I was just speaking with someone that was saying, hey, I'm trying to work up and get this promotion. I want this promotion, right? And I said, be careful, man, because every time you get a promotion, if you're that type of worker, right, you give them more than what they bought, right? And that was part of the premise of why they gave you the promotion, right?
Right.
They gave you a certain amount and then tried to bang you over everything that they could get out of that amount, and it's not equating to the value. Part of the reason I stopped working as late is because I was like, look, man, in the sense of, if you make $50,000 doing something and then you work double as much time, 8 hours outside the office, you basically took your salary and cut it in half. And you're like, oh, it's really all I'm making is $25,000, right?
And
Because
I'll say, oh,
I'm
go
giving
ahead.
you more time than what you want. And with that time, I could have been exploring other things. I could have been looking for another job. I could have been investing in myself to get somewhere where I'm better aligned. But I'm so caught up in what you got going on that I can't get out of this. I can't get out of this vicious cycle, right?
Yeah. I'll say it's interesting how COVID, and for those who don't know, we are 56 minutes into the show and we have not touched either of the topics that we planned on talking about today. So at this point, we're just going to roll those into next week
Hey,
and y'all are just going to enjoy the rest of the
this is
show.
this is essentially new dirt to this. We're
This is,
figuring it out.
yeah, new dirt, baby, new dirt.
New dirt.
I mean, I'll say that it's interesting because the pandemic did two things for me. And this goes back to we had this conversation about production versus being productive or and being
Right.
successful. I
Yeah.
think that was the premise of
Yeah.
that conversation.
Uh-huh.
And so when COVID hit, pre-COVID, I would come home and for the most part, work would be over. But I would be getting home at 6:30, 7 o'clock. So you get home and shit, your day's over anyway.
Right.
Post COVID, because I felt like I wasn't accomplishing enough throughout the day because I'm being pulled to be a dad,
Right.
or I didn't do anything all day because I was hanging out with a kid, or the time I could have been working, I was on a conference call, whatever. Right. So that forced you into trying to be quote unquote productive at any point throughout the day, which then drove me to working after,
Right.
working to midnight every night, right?
Yeah.
But what also has driven me back from that table, as I think through goals for next year, is the idea of waking up no matter how much you sleep and still being exhausted.
Yeah.
And so
Right.
like I was like, those two things can't exist anymore, right? Like
No.
you just got to shut the shit down and
Right.
be done.
Right.
And folks are just gonna get the level of work that they
They're
got.
just gonna get what they get, and they're gonna be okay with it. Or if they're not, okay. Like you gotta have that space of enough confidence to be like, okay, it's like I lied to you not. I've had this conversation multiple times. Let me know if you think you need someone else in this position. I've had that conversation with supervisors before that have been like, let me know, right? Because it's not a one-way street. I understand this is where I'm at with things, right? I can't do what you were looking for out of this anymore, right? I can give you my all, and I can do what needs to be done, and I will do what needs to be done because I'm committed to the mission, right? But let me know if you think you need a change up here, right? I will gladly recognize that and go find another opportunity if that's where this goes. That's me being authentic to the situation. I will work hard. I will do whatever needs to get done. Similar to you. I
Yeah.
get it. Hey man, you know, I had the kid was running around. I understand that I'm probably at a deficit of a couple of different tasks here that got to get done tonight in order to keep things moving tomorrow. Let me do what I got to do and I will make sure you're straight, right? But if you about to treat me like nickel and diamond and you about to start counting the marks and the minutes and start looking at I hear people all the time talk about how uh people look at teams indicators and they're like, oh, you went
Nah, bro.
yellow, man, and you went red. That's
Nah.
the easiest way to have me be like this. Yeah, I think
It's
you know, by the grace of God, by his glory, I'm
hey,
with you, but no, no, you know what I mean?
yeah. Hey,
And I
bro.
mean,
I
you
feel
gotta
you.
make those calls. You know what I mean? I'm gonna do what needs to be done for the job. I'm gonna make sure it happens. But I'm a grown person, dog. I'm a grown person. I got kids. I got a family. I got things going on. People in the hospital. It's a pandemic. My kid is extremely excited about this time that he gets to spend more with his parents, which I love. It's also extremely stressful trying to deal with this and y'all at the same time. You know
You
what I
know,
mean?
what's crazy is all of that is so all of that I was doing wasn't tied to outside pressure,
Oh no, it's
which
all
makes
you.
it which
It's
makes it
all
even
like
worse. Yeah.
it's like the and I mean to put this back to you, right? I suspect, and I'm only saying this because I
Oh,
can't speak to the female experience, right?
right.
But I suspect that it's something about being a black male in your work environment that makes you be like, or maybe it's just black, period. That's like, I gotta keep up.
Oh, that's all me.
I gotta do it, right?
It's
But
all
then
me.
when you talk to people, you're like, so what did you do? Man, we went to a Braves game and got drunk. And you're like this. What? Y'all went to a Braves game? Yeah, the Braves game was at 3 o'clock. At 3 o'clock. Like, I didn't
Hey,
think we could be off at 3. Nah, man, we all win. I just told them I can't do it. Be like, because you have something that I don't have. You have this control of your own destiny. You're writing your own destiny. Is that what's going on? Or you have safety? Like, what is it that's allowing you to kind of lay off like that? Because also as a worker, be like that, right? Once we set that standard, people
you got to
affirm
live
that.
up to it.
No, like people will refer back to it. Well, Jeff, it's
Mm-hmm.
not like you to not work till
Mm-hmm.
midnight. And you're like,
Yep.
what? Jeff, this isn't like you to not get this done. Carrie, I mean, you usually are here on Saturdays. Why what changed
Oh,
here?
100%.
Like, oh no. I was here on Saturday because I needed to use the copier machine. My copier broke.
No,
I'm
no.
not printing off
Hey,
a bunch of stuff. If you need the dollar, I'll give you the dollar. But I
Candace will
need
tell
to
you,
use
bro, it's all me. It's no outside
right.
pressure. It's just like
But who you racing against?
shit. I want to like. That's the funny part is like it's just this go mentality that I have to get it done.
Now let me
Like
ask you this.
everything has to get done every day,
Now let
and it don't even be everything because player don't make no list. He just ride. Like it's like I'm waking up every day and I'm gone.
let me ask you this. If how old is they?
8.
8. 20 years from now, you started seeing Zay do the same thing. Would you be mad?
Oh, 100%.
But if he watched you and said, I'm doing what my dad did.
Oh yeah. So my sincere hope in all of this, until I change, is that he learns from his mama, not his daddy. So I will say, so there's two other there's a thought,
Right.
and this is a bad thought, that there's always the hope that you grind as hard as you do so that your kids don't have to. But
Hmm.
I think what most of the time ends up happening is your kids watch you grind as hard as you did and then pick up that bad trait.
Yeah.
And they do it because they saw dad do it or saw mom do it, but they don't realize that they don't have to do it anymore.
Man.
So two
Truth.
things is, I hope
Truth.
right now that he picks up more of his mom's habits than he picks up from his dad, until I can figure this whole work-life balance thing out.
Hmm.
But that also, it's kind of in my working mind of wanting to figure out, how to be less on work,
Yeah.
how to
I'm
create more
definitely
boundaries with work so that I can be more present.
I definitely have been able to recognize as I've gotten older how much I didn't understand the assignment of watching my dad work, right? Like I thought my dad just loved finance, right? I thought he just was like he loved work, right? I'm like, what's up with this guy, man? Like, who works this much at finance? Like, why do you like finance that much? You like it more than doing these other things? And I just didn't understand until I got older. And now, as a father, as someone that's reflective, and have seen my dad look at me like, what are you doing? Right.
Yeah.
And I think he's now saying, like, damn, you misunderstood what was going on here. I did these things for freedom, right? So that my wife, my kids, they could do whatever they wanted to do. So they never had to be anything. They could do whatever they wanted to do. Not so that you guys would come up with some kind of like crazy strange work requirement that says in order to make it you got to do these things and work this hard and kind of be like this. I did so that we wouldn't have to do these things anymore.
So I
And it
think
was
we
like, dang,
go
i
ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
i misunderstood that, right?
And I think so. I think part of this is also that we straddle two generations, or we straddle two work ideals.
Hmm.
I think we straddle the work ideal that says you grind for 50 or 60 hours a week so that you can climb the corporate ladder, so that your family can, you work hard as a male, because so that your family can enjoy the fruits of your labor later. I think we
Right.
straddle that fence with, which is this kind of old archaic way of thinking, or this work centric way of thinking, with this new ideal that I want. One, I think we said earlier, I want to enjoy my life now.
Right.
And then two, I also want to control. I want more control into how I spend my
how
time,
how I
right?
exist.
And
Right.
how I exist. And so I think we straddle those two ideals, because the generation that we exist in and the generations that are coming behind us, or excuse me, after us, are like, no, if this don't work out with my work-life balance, then I'm
Right.
out. Right. I will create a business, or I
Yeah.
will do whatever I need to do to keep work-life balance. Whereas the previous generations, which we straddle, are like, no, I'm going to work the same job for 60 years, and I'm going to work my way up the corporate ladder, and I'm going to grind and until the wheels fall off, and then I'll retire. And so I think straddling those two spaces creates awkwardness in the middle that
Oh yeah.
says, which way should I fall? What's the right way of doing things?
Oh yeah.
I think I'm falling to the control in my time. But I think we still see so many of our brethren in this age demo that are comfortable with the everyday grind. And I think, again, it goes back to the
Right.
surroundings of people that I have. You guys, Candace, that are Justin and Akuba, that are more entrepreneurial, that are all about controlling your own capacities, that are forcing me into that positive change. So
Well,
I feel
I
like
mean,
I said a mouthful there.
But I feel like most of the people that we've seen on this podcast that we've had as guests on the show and just people making moves has really given me this idea that, like, hey man, we're hard workers. We're not hard workers just because of the alignment to our jobs or our careers. We're just hard workers, period, right? But it makes me kind of wonder how I just randomly, I have had this idea that I would just throw up a bunch of ideas up on the wall, throw something up against there, and work my ass off at it, and be like, I can make that happen for myself, right? Whether it was selling potato chips or real estate or something. I'm that type of person that I would learn and burn through anything that you would give me to like work at, right? Why is it so hard to make the leap, right? It's something that I think I got to explore. I got to figure that out because that's one of the biggest things keeping me back from controlling my own existence.
Oh, bro, you and me are similar in that, like, I will overthink the hell out of everything to the
Right.
point where it ain't happening. Whereas, like, Candace knows that about me. If we need to do something, then
Right.
you have to get me to pull the trigger quickly, right?
Right.
Because the longer I have to sit in idle
Right.
or to
It's
sit
like,
in neutral to
right.
think about the decision, it's like
Right.
I don't. It's
Right.
like the risk averse kicks in. But
Right.
if you, but
And
if you
someone
can,
came up to me, it's so crazy. It's at some point, I think you know this, Jeff. Like, so at some point, I had just got promoted at Georgia State and said, I'm not making enough money. I gotta go figure out something to do. Someone called me up and was like, "Hey man, you ever think about doing seasonal work at Delta?" And I was like, "I don't know anything about being a
right,
seasonal worker." And I started working up at the airport doing baggage handling, right? And
I
doing
remember
ransom.
that.
And I learned it and I did it and I rocked it. And then I was like, I'm done with this. I don't want to do this anymore. Right.
Yeah,
But I think if someone had walked up to us at dinner and said, here's my card. Tomorrow, you're going to start selling refrigerators. Me and you would be like, really? And they'd be like, you don't have a choice. Sell refrigerators.
I
We'd
sell.
be like, hey, man, we made it rich selling refrigerators because we set this thing up and we just busted our ass doing it.
Oh,
But
your boy is salesman. Now I sell anything.
but
Shit.
you know what I mean? Like, it's the pull the trigger part that's
Yeah.
like, yeah, why can't I
Yep.
pull that trigger on my
Yep.
own? Why is it that it's got to be like a life or death situation?
Safety, bro. Like, I think I live and die in I can thrive in and this is probably not healthy.
Right.
I can redline. I can exist in that fight or flight space for a really, really long time. So when you redline, so when you're redlining your engine, I can exist in the red line for a really, really long time.
Right.
But then when I crap out, shit's done, right? But I can exist in that fight or flight mode, which is that area where you just described. I can exist in that space for a really, really long time.
Right.
Instead of existing in the previous, in a more secure space, but yeah, man, like Candace knows, if you want me to pull the trigger on something, you got to get me to do it quick. Like, don't give me any time to think about it.
Right.
Like, if
just,
when it comes time to buy this house, it's like, boom,
this refrigerator.
Oh yeah. Like, when it comes time to, whenever we get ready to finally pull the trigger on this investment property, right? It's like, pull the trigger. This is the house. Pull the trigger. Sign the paperwork. Go. Because I mean, it's something simple like buying a new TV, right? I am going to to every.
I've been we trying to get a new TV, and I've been over analyzing. Like, yeah, but 524. Can I pay 524?
Exactly.
Should I pay 524? Should I get a refurbished? What about reviews?
Exactly.
How reviews? Which reviews? How reviews? I don't know. There's a new edition. Maybe that one comes out. Maybe I'll get that TV. 4K. 4K.
Maybe I don't need a new TV, and that's what ends up happening.
You know what? I like the idea of having a new TV.
Yep.
But my old TV is fine, and that's the same mentality that's keeping us from getting the things. Apparently, like as we've seen from other people, it's like, no, you just need to you need to get into a space to where that is not safety. That is quite honestly the opposite of that, right? You are actually harming your future potential.
Exactly.
every day that you don't do something that's more invested towards that skewed side of like, I want this for me, you know?
Yeah. So so Candace and I were planning the kids have 5 days off in February. And eventually we're gonna wrap this show because we're at an hour and 13. But the kids have a vacation in February. It's like 5 days off. And so we were like, all right, let's go on vacation. And so we found a spot, and we were like, all right, cool, let's pull the trigger. And we didn't pull the trigger. Right. We were talking about this shit with Tasha on Thursday. We were at Tasha and Marlon's house on like Thursday. We were like, yeah, we're gonna do this. And then we didn't pull the trigger on Friday like we discussed. And then what that then created is it provided space for doubt. And so we were like, maybe we'll look at going here. Maybe we'll go to Cancun because it's cheaper, or we'll go to here because it's cheaper, or the flights are less here. Maybe we don't. And so not pulling the trigger in the moment where you feel the most, when you say, let's do it, let's just pull the trigger, it created a space for doubt. And so the only reason we ended up pulling the trigger on the original spot was because we were up against a deadline, right? We wanted to take advantage of a discount, and we looked around and we were like, all right, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just pull the trigger and be done. And so finally we pulled the trigger. And so we got the vacation, halfway paid for or whatever, or we got it moving. But I think, again, it just goes back to illustrating that point of, like, there's this window of time in between I've made a decision to pull the trigger, and if we don't pull it then, and I said it, hey, let's just sleep on it. We'll pick it back up tomorrow, and we'll have a decision. Guess what we didn't have when we woke up in the morning?
A decision.
We did not have a decision.
Just
all we did was go back and forth, this spot or that spot. Maybe we don't go. Maybe we save the money, and we just wait to go to Puerto Rico and in April for spring break like we normally do, and we won't do a vacation in February. And it created all this space for doubt instead of just saying, I'm going to go with my gut. This is what we're going to do. We're going to pull the trigger. We're going to be done. And so for me personally, I have to learn how to just go and pull the trigger in that moment where it's time for me to pull the trigger, instead of living in this space, living in the doubt space, because the doubt space transitions to the inaction space, which is that space that, where nothing ever gets done. And we are sitting here having the same conversation 20 years from now.
And I think
things we wish we could have did.
Kind of going back to where we started this episode from, this huge rabbit hole.
Rabbit hole.
That's probably the reason why I don't like Attainable out of SMART goals. Right there is it creates the space for doubt. Right. What is attainable forces me to think what is not attainable. Right. And because I have to have this dialogue, it opens up room for me to be like, yeah, I was very specific at the time that I wanted to lose 20 pounds. If I didn't lose 20 pounds, it was because it wasn't attainable. I failed the assignment of even making the goal. Right. And it's like, I don't like it. I'm just going to aim big and then have the perspective of like, everything is a win. Let's just keep it moving. Right. So I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. But that space of doubt, that's a major one. If there were two feelings that I could get rid of, that if I could analyze, pick out of my personality and throw them out, it would be doubt and regret.
It's doubt.
Doubt and regret. I don't want regret.
For me, it's doubt, and it's funny because I don't even think regret is a thing, because I will talk myself out of ever making the decision. So to going back to the TV or the Xbox or the grill or the whatever, right? Something like these minor things. I don't like I won't have buyer's remorse because I'll never make the purchase. Like I can't have regret if I don't do it. And so that leaves you in a spot of, Candace said, of don't. Right. So
see, I'm an analytical person, right? We sold our house 2 years ago. I still have Zillow alerts on my old house. Just because I like looking and seeing how much more money could I have gotten out of that house, right?
100%. Right.
And it's not regret based, but it is regret tied, right? It's in that same neighborhood
It's
of
regret
like,
adjacent.
it's like, I'm really interested in what could have been, right? Why are you so worried about what could have been? You
Yeah,
are
coulda,
at
woulda,
what
shoulda.
is, right? You're at what is. So just keep moving, right? And that's really the space that I want to be comfortable in, because I do feel like I would be more comfortable pulling the triggers. There was a point when I was really young, and that's all. That was my day-to-day life when I had like not that many attachments. And I was like, well, going on vacation, going to Florida. When did you decide? Just now.
Yesterday. Yeah.
Getting in a car, going to Florida. I'm off for 3 days. I'll figure it out. I'll, price line something on the way down and just have a good time and then come back.
I
Right.
think,
And
it's
now it's
funny.
like planning, and it's like, oh, did I do the best and why? All those things.
Mhm.
It's like, I understand what comes along with the responsibility of adulting at this level, but also there's been too much space for doubt and regrets.
I
And
100%. It's
so,
we Candace and I were having a conversation prior to podcast, and it's translating thoughts and feelings from one area to another. And so, and I'll say these two things, right? It's at work, no issue making decisions. It's boom, this is what we
right.
need to make.
Make the
Like
call.
let's not dwell
Let's
on
do
this.
it.
Let's make a
Right.
decision and move on.
Right.
And so again, translating that ability to do that in one space into
Right.
another, so translating that from your work life to your real life, or your whole life. And then the idea of the strength that it takes to push past something, like in the gym, right? So the
Right.
idea that, hey, I can walk up to 400 pounds and I can lift it, and the strength that it takes, to the mental strength and the physical strength that it takes to achieve that goal in that one space, taking that same
Keeping that same
fortitude,
energy.
keeping that same energy in the
Right.
gym and applying it to your regular life. Like, if I can push through this, I can push through that. And
Right.
so I think for me, it's mashing those two worlds, right? Whether
Right.
it's decision making in the workspace, or pushing through in the gym space, but making it a more holistic thought process.
Yeah.
It's I think if I could do one thing in 2022, it's bringing all of these things that are caveated in my life, or caveated as probably, or siloed, or what's that, honeycombed. Siloed is probably the right word.
Yeah.
All of the things that are traditionally siloed in my life, but bringing them into one mental space, so
Yeah.
that I can draw from different areas. If all of that makes sense.
No. I got you. I mean, it's similar. Like, you know how many times I've pivoted in my life? Why can't you make these other pivots, right? And now it's like the stakes are higher but different, right? Like, if
Mm-hmm.
I want to get my coffee shop off the ground, what's keeping you? What's holding you back? Right? You're afraid of it not being good, not making it through, not knowing coffee. You've learned how to do all these other things.
Or
Why
is it
can't you
something
learn how to
even
do?
simpler of, my family is on my health insurance?
Right. Right. Like,
Right? Like,
how can I get this health insurance taken
yeah.
care
Oh,
of?
but I will say, if as long as you have two people employed, you can call Tasha at the chamber, and she can get you connected to some good insurance through the Chamber of Commerce.
Hey,
Boom.
see?
Tasha,
Hey,
Mentor Allen in the comment section. Tasha,
hey,
drop your details. If you have a business, I think I'm saying that right. Tasha will correct me if I'm wrong, but Tasha, I think, is if you have 2 or more employees, then you can get insurance through the Georgia Chamber of Commerce.
that's all. That's what I'm saying, right? I need to be able to cover that and pay the mortgage. That's I need to be able to pay the bills, right? And I think it's like, how can I get this off, pay the bills, and do what I want to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I
I so
think it's that I don't want to get behind in the bills. You know what
mm-hmm.
I mean? I don't
I,
want
t-
to mess this up.
I told Candace a couple. So Candace used to have a event planning business, and There you go. See, boom, Tasha. Let me share this on the screen real quick. So Candace used to have an event planning business, and she was always looking into buying a facility so she could host and plan her own events there. And I would always say to her, "Hey, it's easier for me to process the idea of going broke while I'm younger, because I have the capacity and the vitality to earn it back." Because I'm younger, as opposed to saying, "Hey, you want to do this when I'm 50, and I leverage all of my assets, and now I'm old, and if it doesn't work out, then now I'm working at Walmart for the rest of my life." But I've always said to you, man, go for it. Right? We're young.
Got to do something.
Your family's going to be taken care of regardless, right? You got
Right.
a strong network, and so if the goal is to have a coffee shop.
We got to pull triggers. We got to start pulling triggers.
That's
one of my first goals, 2022. Pull triggers, right? Aim, shoot, get it done. That's one of my first goals. So we'll make it happen.
That's all I got today, man. We ain't even talk about what we were drinking. It's all right.
It's all good. We're drinking in the spirit of 22. That's what we were doing.
There we go.
Right? Drinking in goes. Heroes, villains, all the same, I think, honestly. So.
I think eventually I'm gonna wrap these goals up, but I love the idea of pulling the trigger in 2022. And maybe it's Candace designed something for us. It's like, trigger with 22 as the GGER. Candace will design something for you. So, Candace, in your free time, I'd like TRI22ER.
You directed her.
I'll let her vision, I'll let her come up with the beauty in it, right? But I think, boom, trigger 22 got to be the move, baby.
I mean,
maybe that's 22. The word.
Trigger that's 22. Maybe that's my word for 22.
Hold on, can I have that word too?
We about to have baby girl here, right? And we can't have these kids growing up seeing us not pulling the trigger.
You got to pull. So hold on. Can I have that word too? Can I have trigger? Because I think we
like
all
that. To collectively have trigger happy is what Tasha said, and I think that's that's
trigger, I'm trigger happy. Like I think that would help my mental health, right? Like just being able to see what I want and pulling the trigger on it all.
Trigger happy might keep people from robbing you in Buckhead too, so. Might be a beneficial thing to put on like a t-shirt or something. Be like trigger happy.
My wife talking about she take Cash App. Baby, I will pay you in hugs.
She says even EBT.
No, I'm paying her in hugs. What you talking about? Cash App. Shawty, I pay you in a hug. Hey, I love you.
Saying she's pulling the trigger and knowing her value.
Oh no. Hey, I want her to know her value, but hey, you can't rob Peter to pay Paul, right? You can't just take money out of my hand and put it in the other hand, like. Shout it. Come on, man. What you think this is?
But yeah, no, definitely. I think I'm gonna be trigger happy in 22. We got big stuff lined up. I can just feel the energy is there.
Yeah.
So
no, man,
pull the trigger, man.
I got to, because like what. We can't have the same, like what I've learned this year is I can't carry the mental space that I lived in for far too often in 21.
Right.
Like I lived in a very not positive mental space. And it wasn't that it was negative. It just wasn't positive. Right. It wasn't me to my core. And I can't live in that mental space in 2022 because it's not healthy.
Exactly. No. I feel you. Yeah. So I think big props to Tasha for coming up with the slogan Trigger Happy 22.
Trigger Happy in 22. Candace is going to officially design something. I'm going to pay her in hugs and salad.
This is Trigger Happy 22.
Trigger Happy in 22. Bye-bye.
Yeah,
man. We got to do it. Hey, we got to get the brain trust back together, so we can work on. But no, I'm serious. Like this year, got to be some years of pulling hella triggers, right? Because I can't at the end of 22 look back and go, man, shit didn't change. So
on to 23. I need to be like, man, 22 was the 22
was the fucking year. Sorry, I don't really use the F word too much on the show.
But you use it correctly though.
Yeah. I mean, I feel
Is it
like
well
curse
timed?
words add value. Curse words
It
add
was
value.
I'm starting to give less consideration to these rules that you shouldn't curse, and I've been like, why? It's how I feel. To take
Curse
that
words
away
add
from me.
value.
The curse words add levity to the situation. They color it differently, right?
Like, so I say, like think about your favorite rap song and take
Mhm.
out the curse words.
Right. It
It,
turns
it
into
just
a
it
Will
don't hit
Smith.
different.
It turns into Will Smith getting jiggy with it, and it's like,
Or or when Tupac had, what was that? Take Money. Yep, and you claim, it just
right.
hits different, right?
Well, you get the radio edit, right?
And
Which is like, oh,
nah,
oh, you like, I don't understand what just happened there. Oh, it's 3 curse words back to back. Oh,
exactly.
yeah, man.
All right, so hey, let's jump into the best part of the show. We still have no sounder for it. We may not ever have one. Y'all are just gonna have to deal with it, but it's here. Oh,
Yeah.
hey, it's hero villain time, baby. Hero villain time.
Who you got? Who's your hero? Who's your first hero? Who's your first villain of 22?
All right, so I sent you, my wife's laughing. I don't know. Are you laughing at the want, babe? My hero, I think I sent you a funny video about it. You can watch it later. I'll share it on the Drunk Mondays IG page or IG. I'll share it on IG. But anyway, the premise of the whole video was that scientists have discovered 150 more or potential planets in our solar system, right? So we
What?
just went went from having 9 or 8
They
because
should have
we
never turned on that damn
they ain't even,
that,
see, the crazy part is they ain't had
that telescope.
they ain't turned on the telescope yet
As
because
soon
it's
as
still
they turn on
flying
the
into the
telescope, they're
spot.
like, well,
Yeah.
well, damn.
So
We
y'all
thought we were
know,
the
I think
only ones. Now there's
2006, I think we relegated or we kicked Pluto out.
right.
But now the scientists say that they've discovered, or they think they've discovered, over 150 more what they call quote unquote planets that fit their description of what a planet is based on size and having things that orbit them, whatever. And
Right.
so they think they have found 150 more things that
In
they could
our
consider
system,
planets, huh?
in
In
our
our
system.
solar system, right? Like that's so.
The
Yeah, so I'll share the story because it started with me
hell
seeing the
no.
funny video, and then I
Right.
was like, all right, if I'm going to bring this up on the show, then I at least have to go and make sure that
Right.
this shit is actually factual. And
Wow.
real talk. So scientists, I think it was the story came out about 4 days ago, but scientists, based on what they believe and what they have defined as a quote unquote planet, they have now discovered what they think is about 150 more
That's
planetary
wild.
like objects in our solar system. So
That's wild.
super dope. Again, y'all know I love science and I love sci-fi. Anything future or
Right.
space based is my thing, because it just gives you visions of the future and what human potential is like. So I love all of that stuff. So first hero of the year has to go out to science, for just continuing to push boundaries and continuing to push the envelope, and hopefully kind of guiding us into the futures that we've seen on Star Trek and all the rest of these kind of shows. So
I'm down.
yeah,
Okay.
love it. I'll share. I shared the video with you, the funny video, but I'll share the article I found to go with it. I'll share that with you later.
All right. So who's your villain?
Flu Rona.
Flu Rona.
Flu Rona. That's
Flu
another
Rona.
story that came out.
Flu Rona.
About didn't really dive too deep into it, but again, just this idea that we now are going to have to deal with. Oh no, Candace sent me an article that said the first verified case of flu Rona, which is a mix of the flu and coronavirus, has been found. So
Flu Rona. And it's
flu
not
Rona.
a variant.
Flu Rona, bro. I don't know. I'm just over it. And we got to do what we got to do to protect our families, and we got to do what we got to do to protect each other, and just stop living in this my life, my body, my my health, my life kind of
Yeah.
mentality. I think we just got to do better. We have to do better about protecting one another and caring for our neighbors. And the fact that we still exist in the pandemic is a classic example of us not caring enough about our neighbors, right? Like we talk
Right.
about in this country that we're founded on Christian values and yada, 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 and all this other BS, man. But every time we have an opportunity to prove, that we are a nation that really values one another, we choose the opposite. And so
Yeah.
that's all we're still in this. And I'm sorry that went negative, but it is what it is. Maybe we should change this to villain hero so that we can end it on a higher note than what I normally end it on.
Well,
So
let me try. I'll start with my villain.
start with your villain and end with a hero.
My villain is not Omicron, but the shit around Omicron, right? It's the ignorance or the lack of planning or the silence. It's the shit that's around Omicron that's getting on my goddamn nerve. Right?
I'm tired.
So it's like my kid's school called like a couple days before he was supposed to go back and said, we're not doing cloth masks anymore. We're doing surgical grade masks for parents and kids.
Yo.
And we were like, what? They were like, welcome to the new year. And I was like, they make kids surgical masks, I guess. And then they said, oh, and by the way, they need to be disposable. Ma'am, y'all killing me with these rules and there's like, why can't this just be over with, right?
Bro.
Then all the schools, and my kid doesn't go to like an elementary school, but the schools started bugging out, right? Oh, we going remote for 2 weeks.
Yep.
We going remote for 3 weeks. We're going remote for a week. We're shut down. And I'm like, y'all know damn well how these schools work, right? Where they're going to shut down for about 2 weeks. And then 1 week, they're going to be like, we're going to extend it till spring break.
Bro.
They just don't want y'all to be angry.
I'm not dealing with it.
Right? It's about to be off the chain. And now I'm in meetings with people and people get all angry, like, are we closed or are we not closed? And I'm like, man, it's just getting crazy out here. It's getting
Are you
crazy.
finished or are you done?
And I'm like, it's been 2 years.
Yeah.
This pandemic had started in 2020.
Yep.
And we're still going through it.
We're still here.
I can't believe this is still going on.
Play the sounder.
And every time I hear a dumbass out there say Omicron is proof that vaccinations don't work, I want to be like, shut up, just shut the fuck up, just shut up, stop talking.
Yep.
Because I swear, y'all with your 3G, remember when the pandemic first started and people were like, oh, it's the 5G LTE signals causing coronavirus. Then people trying to shoot horse medicine into it's just wild. And this is showing you how crazy all this is. That's like, can we not please just move on? I just want to move on. Just move on. It's just taking up too much bandwidth. There's things that I had ideas about doing that now Omicron is like caught in a question. Likewise, let's talk about my hero. My hero is South Africa, man. South Africa been out here killing it. They don't have nearly the same resources that America has, but they were the first ones to be like, hey man, Omicron, it's a thing, right? And then they followed that up with Omicron is a thing, but you won't get very sick. It's all good. It's a thing, but we're surviving through it. Now they're the ones that are like, the peak has come for South Africa. We've moved past the peak. You guys will probably also move past the peak in a couple of weeks. And this is like, what the fuck, man? Did we just get hit with a holiday variant? Because it felt like it came out right around Thanksgiving, and it's gone by the time by MLK Day. And it's like, Lord, this is the fastest I've ever
Throw
seen.
your hands up.
I just don't know.
Yep.
But big props out to the scientists out there working on these things
Every day.
This is
Hey,
why
they working on it in spite of everybody else pushing back and saying we don't want to listen to your ass.
Right. Like I couldn't be no scientist. God know my heart.
I'd have cut somebody out a long time ago.
I mean, like, my advice, they would have called me on the radio, be like, if you die, you die. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You don't want to listen. I don't know what to tell you at this point.
Yep.
It's 2 years in. If those unvaccinated people feel like they are being targeted now, let this stretch in the summer. Watch how vaccinated people start acting towards unvaccinated people. If coronavirus stretches into summer 22, people going to be like this. Get out. Get out. Get on a boat.
Bro.
Move to another state. Move to another country. I don't care where you go, but y'all got to go. Y'all got to get up out of here. They're going to deport them worse than Republicans wanted to deport illegal aliens, right? They're going to want them out because this is getting crazy. It's getting crazy.
And it's exhausting.
So, it is exhausting. It is mentally exhausting.
It's mentally exhausting.
To be like, we got to hurry up and get at-home coronavirus test. Oh, we got to get new masks. Oh, we got to run. We got to go here. We got to be careful. We got to know. Are someone in quarantine? Why are you in quarantine? What happened? You know what I mean? It's a lot,
Yep. So that's all I got.
That's my rant. So I don't know. Going villain hero didn't make me feel much.
Hey, Matrix sucked, by the way. That's all. I'm not going to say anything else. Pissed me off. Like, damn it. Anyway, we're already an hour 40 in, so I'm not going down this rabbit hole.
That could be next week. Next week's
title episode is Matrix Sucks. So y'all all watch it before.
Next week's episode is Earth is trash and Matrix is garbage. Maybe. You can run, you can hide, but you can't hide in the
good Matrix. Anyway, hey, y'all make sure y'all share the episode, bro. Like, stop hogging. Y'all, we got like a great, like, loyal group. Y'all stop hogging the goodness, man. Share this stuff with other people.
Right. Tasha hit the nail on the head. Folks come to work coughing up lungs because they got a negative COVID test. Ma'am, sir, we don't want your cold, flu, strep, pink eye, nothing. Stay at home. Stay your behind back at home. Stop it.
Stop it. So, anywho.
Good episode, man.
Great episode.
Yes.
Pat ourselves on the back.
Next time we will talk about traditional holiday or New Year's foods and all rituals. That good stuff. Yeah, we had a bunch of good stuff to talk about this week, but goals took it over. I blame Candace. So
yeah, blame my wife.
She set the bar. She set the bar with 8 goals.
8 goals. She set the bar way too high. Way too high.
I mean, I love it, but
I do too.
It definitely made me step my game up. But now I have Trigger Happy, so I'm gonna make it happen.
Yeah, but she has to design something for us for Trigger Happy 2022.
She said we were on Black Therapy tonight. Then that's true. We were getting ready. We had to mentally get ourselves ready for 22.
Right.
So,
but she's good. I feel like she should design some stuff for us for Trigger Happy.
Candace is crazy.
I love you, babe. Trigger Happy.
All right, man. Well, make sure you have a great week, man.
It's gonna be a good week. I mean, going back to work.
Pull some triggers.
Yeah,
make it happen.
I love that. That's a really good focus for 2022 and for every week going forward. Let's pull some triggers.
Let's make it happen.
Hey, man, I'm Jeff.
I'm Carrie. Pull some triggers, y'all.
Drunk Mondays, baby.
Peace out.
Peace.